Things do not appear to be going well for Activision Blizzard. Apparently, they have had staff changes as a result of the lawsuit by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. And this was over, of course, a culture of like a frat boy culture, as well as sexual harassment. And so I've got some updates. Now, it appears that Jesse Meshuk, company's head of global human resources, has left. That happened last week, according to The Verge. They report that Jesse Meshuk is no longer with the company. The company declined to comment further, and Meshuk appears to have deleted his Twitter account as well. And of course, that's not good. When you delete your Twitter account after leaving the company, not good. Not good at all. And so now there's a good reason for that. It turns out that according to the lawsuit, Blizzard's Human Resources Department was complicit in fostering this atmosphere of retaliation and allowed the situation of sexual harassment to continue. The lawsuit suggested that employees were, quote, discouraged from complaining as human resources personnel were known to be close to alleged harassers. One of the people pictured in the photographs of the Cosby suite was allegedly an HR employee, according to an ex-Blizzard developer who spoke to Kotaku. We know, of course, human resources, never on your side. HR is literally the face of the company and usually tries to get you to not go against the company. More details. In a report published earlier in Axios last week, multiple current and former Blizzard employees called the company human resources team part of the problem. They would report issues only to be ignored, belittled, and retaliated against. An HR rep reportedly told one employee to, quote-unquote, suck it up because they were acting like a brat. HR, everybody. HR. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. One quote from the lawsuit also has someone saying, it's your fault if you hadn't been so friendly. If only you hadn't been so friendly. Wow. Gross. So now, I also reported that J. Allen Brack had left the company as well. He was president of the Blizzard department where this all had went down. But there are still too many problematic people in positions of power. And in fact, last Monday, IGN reported that a coalition of Activision Blizzard employees have formed a Workers Alliance and demanded that some of this problematic leadership either leave or address their demands. So they had wrote a letter to CEO Bobby Kotick, and basically they had asked that leadership address the letter asking for changes in the workplace. So their goal, they write, is for executive leadership to address the response to the California DFEH lawsuit, acknowledge the reality of working conditions across the organization, and commit to meaningful change. They had 4 demands. One is an end to forced arbitration, the adoption of inclusive recruitment and hiring practices, increases in pay and transparency, an audit of ABK policies and practices to be formed by a neutral third party, and of course, they demanded that the third party be selected by an employee-led diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. Not do that. So now, it turns out that one of the demands is as they asked a third-party audit of the practices and policies. Well, in response, the company actually hired Wilmer Hale. Wilmer Hale is well known as being a union-busting firm. Because, of course. They explained in their letter that Wilmer Hale has conflicts of interest, including one involving compliance officer Frances Townsend. They write that she is known to have relationships with multiple partners at Wilmer Hale, including former FBI Director Robert Mueller. Townsend is also a former Bush administration official who had defended the use of torture in the Bush administration. And added that they are a union-busting firm that has a history of discouraging workers' rights and collective action, and pointed to the website, wilmerhale.com, who list their services as advising on union awareness and avoidance. So right now, workers at Activision Blizzard are coming together and coalescing into what is essentially a group, not a union yet, because they actually have to vote to unionize, but they've gotten together for collective action against the company, and of course they responded by hiring a famous union busting firm. So it really shows that their dedication to trying to change the culture and address worker concerns, well, is non-existent. They don't care. They want to, more than anything, prevent a union from happening. And so now they note. By the way, they also talked about the WilmerHale partner that is leading the investigation. It is Stephanie Avakian, who specialized in protecting the wealthy and powerful against workers, and noted that, quote, "We are already seeing the effects of this ideology in action that leadership has taken to restrict our freedom of association since last week, including reducing the size of listening sessions and limiting access to those sessions." So, as right now, of course, they're doing everything that they can to discourage these workers, collective action, as well as trying everything they can to avoid making significant changes at this company and really addressing the allegations that were outlined in this lawsuit. The response to this from Blizzard has been absolutely abysmal. Gross. Just gross. So now, the workers' complaints are also buoyed by a former Blizzard developer and co-founder of both ArenaNet and Undead Labs. This is Jeff Strain. Here's what he said. "My time at Blizzard left an indelible mark in my life and career that continues to this day. Most importantly, it showed me how abusive cultures could propagate and self-amplify over time, how hardcore gamers only is a smokescreen for bro culture, how fostering a sense of exceptionalism inhibits people from speaking up because they should just deal with it. They love the company and its games, and how passive leadership that turns a blind eye can ultimately be the most abusive thing of all." So I actually read some interesting threads by a former Diablo community manager who had talked about her experience at Blizzard and how she was routinely passed over, of course, for management positions, for higher level positions, and also had been hung out to dry during the whole first Blizzard Hong Kong debacle, as well as the Diablo Immortal. Remember, don't you guys have phones? That whole thing. She was left without any support to deal with understandably angry fans that were hoping to get an update at BlizzCon during that year for what was to be the announcement of Diablo 4, or what should have been the announcement for Diablo 4. No support at all dealing with people, and of course, no room for advancement at that company. Disaster. Strain continues by taking a very pro-union position. Quote, "Unions were started in this country to protect workers from abusive, cruel, abhorrent, unacceptable, and illegal treatment from companies. That's their entire purpose. If this week does not show us that our industry colleagues, even the most entry-level QA tester, need true support and baseline protection, I can't imagine how much worse it will have to get." He added that he welcomes his own employees, unionizing, offering his, quote, "full endorsement and support for the industry as a whole to adopt this model." That's a significant step. So far, we haven't really heard anything from Activision Blizzard itself as a result, or any efforts to try to support unionization. Of course, they continue to try to stop unionization, and I hope that they fail. I do hope that they fail. For my part, I canceled my WoW sub. I refuse to buy any more games. I understand how that can hurt the good developers that are there, that are trying to, of course, just make enough money to survive and really do put everything they can into making games and to serving their community. But at this point, I can't really support the company as a whole because of how they fostered this horrific atmosphere of abuse towards those very workers. They have to be shown. We've got to send them a message that we as gamers and fellow workers, members of the working class, do not support the rampant exploitation of workers, as well as this culture of misogyny and sexism that exists in the gaming industry. We absolutely have to do something to support those workers. And so I would suggest, of course, supporting their efforts to unionize and perhaps setting up a possible strike fund just in case that they decide to do that and unionize, or a possible unionization fund to support their efforts. I'm not entirely sure what kind of direct actions you and I can take other than boycotting and sending Blizzard itself, Activision Blizzard, a message. But we should try to figure that out and to help those workers be able to, fight back against this terrible company and this terrible, not just company, but industry itself, and make a better future for workers everywhere. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.